Welcome to the additional video with Module 7 of Action Research, and I am going to provide some tips and some tricks to hopefully get your Action Research proposal poster done a little bit more efficiently this week. Can you believe it though? This might end up on display in the poster hall at Create State. There have been years where there have been over 100 posters in the poster hall. I kid you not, I can completely lose track of time and existence in that poster hall, wandering from row to row, looking at poster after poster, and meandering through all the different topics from nursing to engineering to education to history and the humanities and psychology and art, all sorts of things. I so hope that we will have a section of graduate reading action research posters there, proposal posters. Like I said before, I was a little bit nervous if I thought this idea was a little too crazy, a little bit too unusual, but it seems that it's coming together. I'm just so thrilled, and I'm so proud of how hard y'all have been working. So I do hope you'll take the time to email me at some point and let me know your thoughts on this experience about this aspect of the course. With Create at State being a spring venue, it's obviously very fortuitous for a spring course in Spring 1. If this course is offered in Spring 2, it would be after the submission deadline. And if it's offered in the summer and the fall, it's equally problematic. So I hope that this could continue to be a part of a Spring 1 term, but please let me know your feedback, because that might help me be a voice when it comes to scheduling. Okay, so first of all, it's very important that you have taken the time to look at the Action Research poster presentation handout that we have in Blackboard, and do not just rush into the template file without looking at the handout. Excuse me. So looking at the handout, I'm going to kind of read a few elements from the handout, but then I'm going to get into some specific tips. So the handout says, from this course, the Action Research poster presentation will be done virtually by sharing posters, a PDF rendering of the 36 by 24 inch PowerPoint slide on Blackboard. We'll hand these all in on Blackboard, right? And I will be setting up an area on Blackboard where I will be. You have to hand them in on Blackboard, but I'll set up an area on Blackboard where you can look at each other's. It may seem strange to utilize a PowerPoint slide in this format. We're used to thinking about PowerPoint, I think, slide by slide, right? Click to the next slide, click to the next slide. But really, PowerPoint is just like Microsoft Publisher. It's just one giant page where you can do all sorts of different layout things. But it also has the ability to cycle through different pages. We're just using one, right? But this functions essentially the same way as other costly software, but you've got access to free Microsoft Office, access to PowerPoint. This prevents additional cost. I've selected PowerPoint on purpose because Microsoft Publisher is not a part of the Mac package, but it is a part of the Windows package. But PowerPoint does the exact same stuff. Fewer whistles and bells, but it's the same stuff. So this will prevent additional cost for you as well. So it's necessary to do save as in PDF file format on Blackboard. This has the added benefit of preserving the poster size and resolution. I can't take a small slide and enlarge it up from a PDF submission. And on the handout, it said if any relevant venue exists during the term the course is offered. As you can see, the Create at State opportunity happened after the handout was designed. You can see how hard I was fighting behind the scenes, right? Completing this poster assignment will involve two essential components. First, utilizing relevant feedback from the professor and/or academic assistant on the weekly Action Research proposal sections, which were handed in modules 2 through 6, in either Blackboard assignment feedback form or various email exchanges, that sort of thing. Second, you'll need to make careful and strategic decisions about what content and how much narrative under the various sections to utilize on the poster presentation. A good rule of thumb, approximately 10 double-spaced pages of text in a Microsoft Word document, the first being a covered page, the last being references, so 8 pages of meat, roughly is what will fit on a poster this size, give or take, depending on how you handle pull-out quotes or tables or figures. Okay. So let's get a little bit more specific. Let's talk about the template a little more. My hope is that you've dedicated enough energy to your language and to elements in sections 1 through 5 so that you have more than enough to work with and won't necessarily need to go in and add additional narrative, because that might feel more difficult at this juncture. So the first step, in a broad sense, the first step is to migrate content from your Microsoft Word files to the template. Second step will be making content adjustments, additional literature, additional details, correcting grammar, spelling, punctuation. Third step will be make sure you have one or more visual elements. You don't want that poster to be just entirely all text, just one mass of text that all kind of blends together to your eyes. You got to have some visual elements that kind of pop out a little bit. Two easy and popular options might be a pull-out quote in larger format from your literature that really encapsulates the meaning or concept or content area of your action research topic. And you can just highlight a chunk of that text and enlarge it, change its font a little bit, make it bolder, more noticeable. Or you can create an additional text field and adjust the shape of the other existing ones. There's different ways to do this. You can play around in that PowerPoint slide, in that template. But a pull-out quote that really encapsulates, really captures the main content area or main literature-driven area of your topic. And then also, possibly under your projected data analysis, a table that shows how you will analyze your data. It will be an empty table in many ways because you don't have data that goes in it. But it would show where you would be plugging in the data that you are planning to collect. And then the fourth step would be making cosmetic adjustments, balancing the mass of the columns, positions of headings, make sure the position of your title bar is correct and hasn't been affected. Maybe change some background color if you want to. It's always okay to add a splash of color. Don't go overboard on color though, because it can be a turnoff to a poster customer if you have just this wild, crazy colored thing. Right? It's got to be easy on the eyes. So again, moving content from Microsoft Word to PowerPoint, it's very easy because the programs, of course, speak the same language, right? They're basically the same thing in a lot of ways. If you attempt to move text from a third-party software or from Google Docs or something like that, I cannot guarantee what it will look like when it goes into PowerPoint. It might be radically altered. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now let's get really specific with the template, and I've got about 10 tips or suggestions here. So first, this is a giant PowerPoint slide, right? You'll notice it displays at about 30% size. And again, this is to preserve the resolution so that when it prints out in the poster format, it won't look grainy. On your computer, this is going to mean you have to scroll up and down the columns and right and left, and if you want to see it all at a glance, you know, it's going to reduce your text just to little bitty lines if you shrink it down enough that you can see. And if you go to 100% size, it'll be large text, right? It's 18-point text. Secondly, you can adjust the headings. You can add subheadings as necessary. You can make it parallel your 5 sections from the previous weeks, or you can adjust them. A third, text does not wrap from column to column, so you have to watch that carefully. As you fill a column, if you get below the bottom of that column, you might have text that's not visible. So watch out for this very carefully. If it looks like you've got missing lines at the bottom, it's because your text actually spilled down, and it's there. It's just out of view. So you got to watch out for that very carefully. I've just simply tried to balance those content headings on the columns and the templates in a way that I think is my best guess for how it's going to come together for you. Fourth, the borders, the line borders that's set around each of the 4 columns and the title box, those are there at first so you can see where they are, so that you can see what the position of those text fields are. You can always right click on them or click on them and go through your menus to change, to hide the line, to have no border around, things like that. But it's important to know where those text fields actually fall, because gutter space between the columns is important. Otherwise, you run the risk of it looking like one giant, like no breaks, or even those column gaps are important. You could go with 3 columns. You could go with 5. It's up to you. I thought four seemed like a pretty standard approach. Fifth, regarding the title bar, make sure to add that important info on the title bar so we know who you are, where you come from, that sort of thing. Don't forget that middle initial. I think sounds very scholarly. Sixth, as you put content in place, be mindful of those bold headings and make sure you have the wording adjusted to your section. Some of those headings in the template file include the different possible options from some of those headings, right? So make sure you read through it carefully. Make sure you have all your content moved, feedback accounted for. You've made any additions that you feel like you want to make. Make sure you've included all of your references, right? Seventh, yes, you can adjust the font size, but I would really caution you against this. It's just, you don't want your font size to be too large or too small, right? Too small says you packed too much into the poster, and too large says you didn't have enough. You tried to stretch it out. I have this set at a decent visual standard. 18 points is pretty it's a visual standard, so you don't want to look too different from all the other posters in terms of how much text is in there. Eighth, as I mentioned before, add some visual elements, right? Feel free to draw some inspiration from my poster, but do what's right for your study. A pull-out quote or two, it's a quick way to go. A table that captures your possible data analysis, that's a great way to go as well. I highly suggest making that table in Microsoft Word first, and then copying and pasting it in. I find it easier to do that way. I like a good 30-second table, just real basic line grid and some stuff on the left and some stuff on the top I make bold, and then I fill in my stuff. Ninth point, make sure you delete the notes at the top of the left column that I have in there, as well as the links to additional public student allowed A-State logos that you can use above the background of the researcher when you don't need them anymore. But I've left logos in there. I think they're all you need. Finally, when you're done in PowerPoint, make sure that you do a save as or an export and select PDF as your final format. When you hand this in on Blackboard under the 7.3 portal, under the Module 7 activities, it has to be in PDF format because that's what Blackboard knows how to read, not PowerPoint. And in the grading format, in the grading area. But also a PDF file is what I will pull off of Blackboard in order to print on the poster printer, and then also have laminated on campus. So please do not leave any aspects of this poster unfinished, which of course would be a grading issue, or any formatting elements for me to adjust before create state. I want you to make sure that you get that done. My job is to print it out for you. Do make sure to monitor that A-State email address in case I have any questions for you about your poster. If I want to make sure if there's something odd that we need to fix, I'll try to keep all of you in the loop on my end. But please keep me in the loop if you receive acceptance notifications, because I only got one mentor email with your abstract submission, so I don't know if I'm gonna get an automated email if you're accepted. So make sure to let me know. Plus, I want to celebrate with you. And if accepted, I want to verify that I have your final version of the PDF file of your poster ready for printing as soon as possible, so that I have them all. I've got the whole batch ready to print out with time to spare before they have to be delivered to Create State. So don't lose that PowerPoint version of your file either, in case you need to make further changes and then render the PDF again. Keep me posted throughout this week. If you have any additional questions, that's what I'm here for. Keep Sarah posted as well. Do the best I can to help. Ultimately, don't be afraid to experiment with that template and layout, things like that in the slide, but save often, of course. Can't wait to see these.